Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of User Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host Rachel.
I'm Delia.
And in this episode we're going to be talking about, are you muting
Your mate.
your mate? Or are you being muted by your mate?
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you're not doing so already, please follow us across our social media platforms at YDFL Podcast. You can also listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, such as
Alexa.
Ask an Alexa, Spotify, iHeartRadio,
Yes.
Pandora, you name it. We're on there worldwide. Thank you to the 28 countries that are listening to us. Thank you. But we're also on
YouTube, and we're trying to grow our following. So if you're not listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and take a look at us on YouTube. And subscribe, listen, follow, share with 3 friends if you like what we got to say. Not to mention, we love comments. So drop a comment.
A lot of guys heading to YouTube to drop their comments, ladies.
Some
please.
of them are not super duper positive,
ladies,
but we accept
need
them all.
you, ladies. Come to the comment section. Let's figure it out.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So, are you being muted by your mate, or are you muting your mate?
I don't know. Like this is one of those things where I'm not sure that either or would know that they're doing it, because it would be one of those things where they just think that that's just the way that they're operating. Like, I know that, there's times where like someone wants to talk to you, maybe like you're married to someone that's very high profile, and someone wants to kind of ask you a question, and he's like, don't talk to her. Like, I'm the one, I'm the star here, like I'm the star of the movie. She's just like the extra.
Let's give an example, because we witnessed
that's
this.
why but you can refer to this specific thing because it happened to you.
So we're here in a building, and we're around a lot of men. There's a lot of women, but there's a lot of men in this building. And it's a few stories high. We're on the 4th floor here, so you can see if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes.
But we noticed something that stood out to us. There's a gentleman that we got introduced to, and he is an entrepreneur, pretty successful in the region, and he's married to what seems like a lovely lady.
Yeah.
She's very much like a girl next door type
Seems
energy.
like that, yeah.
A little more reserved. She's not as outgoing. He's the outgoing one. He's
The
absolutely
alpha outgoing
social butterfly,
Butterfly.
so to speak, okay? So when they're together in the room, he's kind of
He
larger than life.
demands-
He commands the room. However,
commands.
he commands the room in a way that almost makes it seem like she's not even there.
Right, like he's
So-
not even married, right? He doesn't even wear a ring.
Like
and
there's
it's
not,
really
it's
strange.
really odd. And so one of the things is, like, for example, he'll say, hey, Rachel, blah, 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 let's have a seat. And I'm like, okay, so we sit down, he sits down or whatever. And then she's standing there with like all her things. And I'm thinking to myself, where was this moment that he could have taken of like, hey, honey, let's have a seat. Let's
sit down, let's chit chat, let's go to lunch, let's go to dinner, all of us, right?
So we're kind of thinking that maybe behind closed doors, there's this whole like, just let me do my thing.
It could be, or it could be the fact that she's, there's times where certain partners are a little bit more shy. Like I've known of women that are, that's why they say you can't have both, right? So you can't have both people commanding the room, commanding attention, where they're both screaming. Like when they arrived, it's like, imagine they do like a grand entrance, both of them, because they're like both very loud. So I've known of people that, the wife is very outgoing and the husband isn't, or the husband's very outgoing and the wife isn't. And sometimes, you'll also get the people that just want to talk to either the wife or the husband, depending on, business. So maybe for him, because he's very known, then he does most of the business transactions, where maybe she's just behind the scenes doing like, I don't know, the spreadsheets, or maybe she's just a personal assistant, because I've also heard of the men that, treat the wives as their personal assistants.
Yes,
and it's
that's so common.
And it's very common to be like, how is it that I went from girlfriend to personal assistant? And so oftentimes I think that they just kind of take that for granted, the fact that you're there to help, to write the text message, to send the email, to do the things. And then all of a sudden it's like, you think that you're a part of whatever it is that's being built. And he's like, no. Like, let me talk to him. This is me. I'm the one that's doing this deal. You're not. And so I think maybe they don't do it intentionally. It could be a subconscious thing. But I think I could see how that would drive me freaking pretty nuts.
Yes, like there was a story that we heard on social media recently that you and I were sharing back and forth, and it was this man was saying he built an empire for himself essentially, and he, over the years, as he was developing himself and getting the education and really developing his skill set, and started increasing his notoriety, so he was being invited to speak publicly and do all these things, and every time he would start to either educate himself or teach others how to thrive, and then do these sort of learning conferences, he would be in these cities and he would give his wife money and go, here, honey, my
Go
conference
shopping.
starts at 3, go shopping. And eventually she says she found herself just sitting on a bench or whatever crying.
Right.
And then realizing that she feels like not only is he outpacing her, but
Right.
almost like he's muting her. Like almost it's like, oh, no, I need to be the one that's excelling in life.
So
and you
sit
just
down.
need to be over here.
You just need to be cute. Just
Yes.
be a trophy wife. You just
Yes.
need to be cute. Go shop. That's all you know how to do. And then let me go ahead and handle business. And
Yes.
oftentimes I think that, if you really think about, the so-called power couple, because everybody seems to, that seems to be like the hashtag goal, right? The power couple. But are you willing to give her shine? Are you willing to give him his shine? And that is the $1 million question, because oftentimes that's what we seek, that's what we want. How can you elevate your partner to not mute him, to not dim his light, and vice versa, female or a male? Because I think at the end of the day, you don't want to be the one that's always the one contributing and you feel like she's taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
But on the same token, you don't want to have something to say and be like, you're not smart enough to speak, so you speak when you're spoken to.
And this is to the Fab 15 you're talking to.
I'm talking to the male and the females,
Yeah,
by the way,
okay.
because sometimes women are very empowered, especially these days, right?
Yes.
Because we've talked about a few episodes ago about the men, the house husbands.
Oh.
There are house husbands, by the way, and that's becoming such a trend.
Yes.
And so what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, nobody wants to be shushed.
No.
And sometimes out of respect, out of embarrassment, you won't say anything. You don't want to be like, don't be telling me to shut up. You know what I mean? You don't want to be that person
I
either.
think too that one of the ways that I think I see the muting the most and the dimming of the light the most is when, let's just say, ladies, you are someone who's now, maybe you're very attractive and you get a lot of attention and now you're married to him, and he's just like, why are you wearing that top? That top is why would you wear that? Why are you doing your hair like that? Why are you wearing perfume now? There's these weird things. Instead of saying, babe, I love your perfume, he has to dig at it. And we've talked about this throughout all 3 seasons,
for
right?
Sure.
And so there's these little digs. So where a compliment could be, they replace it with a dig. So there's an opportunity to compliment and make you and uplift you. And instead a dig comes in. And then you kind of go, babe, what?
What's the big
But
deal?
then you walk around going, oh, and then you become one of those ladies who's like, oh, he doesn't like women that dress like that, so that's why I dress like this. No, he likes it, and that's why he doesn't want you to dress like that, because other men are going to like it.
Because, it's so funny that you say that, because it kind of goes back to the men that complain after a woman gets surgery, after she's done the boobs, the butt, the waist, the this,
It's because now she sees him like a cucaracha.
Yeah, she's like, when the lights came on, you freaking started walking on the wall, freaking cockroach, get the raid out. And so that happens too, by the way, where I've seen it, where it's all of a sudden she feels like her hair's not done, because it's the whole feeling, right? It's this whole vibe, okay, I get up, shower, get ready. If you go to the gym, you do the gym thing. And then all of a sudden you show up for the world. But if you're not doing those things, and then all of a sudden you go and do the surgery and the magical mommy makeover, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this freaking cockroach, I'm about to put some rainbow stomp on him. And so, and it goes hand in hand too, because then now, guess what? You're going to the restaurant with the cucaracha. Just kidding. No, I God forbid, I hope it's not. I hope that you respect your partner. Please don't do that. But now you're going to these events, and now you're commanding the room.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, don't talk to him. Look at me.
Yes.
And so, I think at the end of the day, I can't stress this enough. Respect.
I'm going to give you guys an example.
that's
I actually shared this on season 1 of my show, the Rachel Unpacked podcast.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I shared that really resonated with women, that stood out to me, I was like, oh, they're paying attention.
Yeah.
Is I had told the story, and I'll tell it now, that when I was, before I got married, I was very into my appearance and upkeep and fitness and hair done, nails, this, that, the whole night, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, teen mom, get married.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
As soon as that happened, this gentleman, what do you call yours?
My colleague?
Your colleague.
My old colleague?
Yeah. My old colleague
Your old colleague.
took all the clothes, literally the day that I moved out of my parents' house, took all of my clothes in these massive, like hefty trash bags. Hey, sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah.
And
Hefty,
literally took them and put them in the car. We're going off. I'm thinking we're moving in together.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing. He stopped in some random shopping center. I never forget. Maybe it was even a park where they have those big bins, you know, the huge trash bins.
So you can donate your
He
clothes?
opens the back and the back doors and starts throwing all the bags of my clothes, which were like name brand at the time. And I was going to say all of them, threw them all away. Like, when I tell you, I left my parents thinking like, I'm going to be okay. Once I have my baby, like, I'll be snatched back and I'll be back in my things. Threw all of them away. Took me to Walmart, okay, and literally to a section where like they sold like those elastic skirts with like little flowers and all the pleats.
Were you pregnant at the time you're
I
saying?
was barely like probably 6 weeks pregnant. Like, you couldn't tell. Like, I'm still like size 4 or 5 at the time, or 6.
So
maybe.
you could have still fit into your clothes.
Oh, for sure. Like, no, for sure. Like,
but I mean, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
No,
Do you think that
so
he was like thinking
so
you weren't going to gain
No.
weight?
So he threw it all away, okay?
Oh my gosh.
Because he knew the kind of attention, I guess, that I would get, or he knew what he's like, I got one of these, you know, whatever girls that all the guys like, whatever. Took all that away, okay? Even my makeup and everything to a certain extent.
Oh, heck no.
Took me to Walmart, bought me this old lady. I even have pictures of me in it. One day I'll freaking share with the community. But let me tell you something. I was like, it's because, you know, he loves me. Like, he just doesn't, you know, blah, blah, blah. And
He doesn't want to lose me.
I guess this is what a wife is supposed to do, okay? Because I'm young. And I'm like, I'm committed to the commitment like we talked about earlier in another episode.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening, though, ladies and gentlemen, is that then he was working with a woman that was very similar to me when he was dating me, talking about dress the way I did, similar hair, similar this, similar that. And then he cheated on me with that one.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so what I'm getting at is that sometimes your partner will do things out of their own insecurity because they see your brilliance and they get insecure that they're going to lose you. And my message to the Fab 15 men that are watching is, if you nurture her and empower her and show up for her in an amazing way, that's going to be plenty. Like, she's going to feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to listen to this freaking dirtbag at the gas station who's flirting with me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to tear her down and strip her of all the things that you love about her, by the way.
Right.
Because you're afraid someone else is going to love her.
And then, but on the flip side to that, because there are people that are to that extreme, and I've heard of it, by the way, and that really sucks that you went through that.
Yeah.
Because I
I snapped out of it, thank God.
No, for sure. You're like, okay, snap, crackle,
pop. Yeah, snap, crackle, pop it.
Pop goes the weasel, and this is what we're doing.
Yes.
But I've also heard of guys, though, it's so weird, right? Like, it's almost like it's this euphoric thing that they want the wife to dress so freaking sexy.
Oh, yes.
And they love for men to
Trophy wife.
lust on them, which is so weird, too, by the way, because you have someone like your old colleague that is like absolutely
trying to keep me hidden in a
trying
cage,
to like put you in a box.
Yes.
And then you're gonna get some of the guys, though, even though they're still going to mute you possibly, but they just want you to still look like, you know, things are a little short here and short there, and you know you're showing off the goods. So you're gonna get a little bit of both. But even then, though, sometimes like,
and that's an insecurity too.
I know that's why I was bringing that up,
yeah.
because I've known of guys that, you know, and then when the girl starts to talk, it's like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're saying, and so it's just best that you just
you're an
stand
accessory,
pretty, and say nothing. And so either one is not good, by the way. Either one. I think at the end of the day, what we're saying here is like respect is so important. So like if the person has something to say, speak. I mean, unless a person doesn't speak the language, because I've known of people that, you know, they bring literally their wives from Mexico and they really don't speak. They don't speak Spanish. They don't speak English, and so, you know, for the most part, I can see how that would be difficult for you to communicate, especially if you don't speak the language. And so I can see that. But
also we see it, by the way, as women who are divorced and semi-dating or entertaining maybe possibly other options, we see it even in what we do every day for our living, for the show that you're watching. There will be the little comments. There'll be these little, like, negative, they're comments. Technically negative, like, we're not easily offended people, I don't think.
Yeah, no, we're not.
But there'll be these little, like, oh, so why are you doing that if you're doing this? And it's like this weird little thing. Or like with you, like, you'll hear little things, like, and I think, and then what ends up happening for us is we go,
we're on the right track.
Or like, yeah, like they'll say, oh, like your little show or whatever.
Oh,
like
yeah.
there's
how
little opportunities.
How are you doing in your little office?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I'm doing phenomenal. How are you doing in your small little world with your small little like
How's
situation
your
down
like
there?
side hustle or like your side business? Or they'll go, oh, how's your hobby? Like I had somebody go say that it was about like the hobby, and I'm like, really? Because do hobbies get you like on stage and in articles and in da 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 and on interviews and like? Okay.
But sometimes I think that I think that that's a way of them trying to
That's what I'm saying.
deflect,
It's the
dim,
dimming.
and you're not even with them. Imagine if you were.
Oh my God.
To say
It's
like
the dimming.
your little office, how are you doing with your little
Yeah.
show? How are you doing with your office? It's like, no, I want you to talk to me and be like, how you doing with your big ass show?
Like pump it, like you know what I mean? Or you just say, you know what, this is so
How are you
awesome
doing?
that you're
Yes.
making these moves. Like for you, like we've had these conversations,
For
and
sure.
you've come to me and said, blah blah blah, and I go, why that? Like why was that
does
the
it-
word?
Why out of all the things? Like I'll give you an example. This has nothing to do with what we're doing, but I remember that when I had purchased one of my homes. And I had done something in the backyard, blah blah blah, and this particular friend came over and she's like, "How cute! Your backyard's so cute."
How cute.
And I was like, so the word isn't like, I don't know if that's in like a way to express it. I felt like it was like she was trying to like belittle.
You know what that
like
is, you guys?
not-
That's
I
the Facebook thumbs up.
don't-
You know, somebody goes click. It's a
Yeah,
thumbs up. You know how
I
you
don't
go,
know. I
"Oh."
did like the thumbs up. Like that's no words, but like that one, I was like, I had to sit on that one for a while. And obviously, guys, I'm still a little traumatized. I'm talking about it, right? Like 5-6
No,
years
but
later.
it's for you
But
guys
it's
to
like,
be, for you guys to be aware too, ladies.
Mindful,
Like if you
on.
are seeing your partner doing things, don't be like, oh babe, that's so cute.
that's so cute. Are you
Yeah.
starting a cute little like
That's cute,
hairline
babe.
accessory line for the babies?
Yeah.
How cute.
How cute.
Like no, it's not cute, you know. And I heard someone that's like a big, huge entrepreneur, and he said that someone had referred to his business as, "How's your little business going?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Excuse me, don't ever refer
yeah.
to my business as a little business." And by the way, like the guy freaking blew it up
Yeah,
to like
100 million.
nine
Yeah,
figure
yeah,
business
yeah.
that he had a big exit strategy on it or whatever. My point to that is this. Don't try to, if you are feeling insecure because you're not pretty enough, because you're not handsome enough, because you haven't done the business, because you have, whatever it is, don't try to freaking knock somebody by saying how cute, how little.
Yeah.
Go sit over there. Don't
Especially
talk.
with your partner, because listen, at the end of the day, if you're one of the Fab 50 men listening, she chose you. You won
For a reason.
Like she chose you. You won. Like
Period.
I know that men are so concerned that one day she's gonna realize who I really am, and it's like she's gonna run away. Like men have this.
Well, it's the same
complex
thing with
that.
like with women that are at home and they're trying to juggle household, kids, this, that, or the other, and all of a sudden she gets this magical idea to start a business, and
Yes.
the guy is like trying to clip her wings the entire time because
Yes.
he doesn't want to let her shine,
Yes.
and so he in his mind thinks that he's being a provider. So what more can she want? Like she wants to do other things, and you should empower her and say, you know what do you need from me to help you?
If you're a woman,
Right.
who is that, because listen, this is I'm like wheelhousing this one all day, because
Oh, yeah.
if you are a woman who has a man who is providing, he's a good provider. I don't even mean a millionaire. A man who shows up and says, I got the rent covered, the mortgage covered. Don't worry, babe. Like. And then you make things happen in your career, okay? And all of a sudden he goes from, you should do that, babe, like that'd be awesome, like, because he loves the idea that he's your hero, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He might even give you $5,000, whatever it is, a little bit of money to just kind of get it started. The moment it takes flight, the moment those wings stretch out
He's
and
gonna
everybody
be a different
starts
man,
noticing,
possibly.
or you're making all this money, something happens in their mind of like, oh my God, like I'm kind of a jerk to her. All I have is the fact that I provide, but if she could do that for herself,
Why does
what
she
does she
need
need me for? Blah, 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 blah. The men, all they have to do is cheer you on. All they have to do is be like, babe, I'm so proud of you. I love that about you. Oh my God, it's so great. Because for the most part, if you're a good man, and that's really the issue, is you're probably not a good man. If you're a good man, the woman is like, will probably spend all her money on you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
But
Like-
instead, you're so worried about her.
So
flying
you
the
pluck
coop.
the feathers off her wings and then clip the ends.
and
then,
find and trust me, she'll find a way to get out of
Ugh.
the cage. Like
Yeah.
it will happen. So you just empower, embrace.
Yes.
Don't meet
Yes.
the man. Don't meet the woman. Like it's respect, man. Come on. Like let's just have common courtesy to say,
Yes.
you know what, I'm gonna uplift my partner, whoever that is, and I'm gonna let them shine because that's what we ultimately are here to do on this earth is somehow serve
Yes.
and serve a purpose and let that person serve their purpose. Whether that's someone asking a question and you not telling them to shut up and go sit down and don't say
You
nothing.
know what I mean? And then even let's just talk about really quick, like the fitness journey situation, you know.
Oh, yeah.
There's so often where all of a sudden, 10 years deep, the man decides, because there's, you know, midlife crisis is a thing for men,
Yeah.
decides he wants to hit the gym and he wants to get buff and he wants to do this and he wants to do that and we start wearing the tight shirts, whatever, okay. At the end of the day, though, as a woman, you know, I don't think that it's a good idea to tear them down or to, oh, well, let me guess, you're going to go to the gym again? Oh, let me guess, you need your pre-workout? Let me guess, oh, God, no, he doesn't eat carbs anymore. I've seen it. I've seen women react to their men suddenly doing something drastically different because they view it as a red flag, okay?
Like they
Number
met
one,
somebody else.
there's something going on here.
Mm.
Two, they don't want him to get too confident because as a woman they get insecure too. And I think it comes from a place too of like not wanting to get up off the couch and like meet him where he's at.
Right.
And so I think in those regards, because this is something that's kind of, I was at a family party and things were like this were coming up. And so to me, I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, like, okay, Rachel, what would you do? Well, I would say, hey, babe, what time are you planning on going? Like, I'll go. Like, maybe not the same time because I
But
get
I think
it.
that goes
But
part
it's like being a team about things.
I agree with you, but I do believe in my heart though, even though I understand that like I do love fitness, but I think that that's a language that not everyone speaks.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like I'll take it back to where it was that controversial thing where someone got a Peloton bike for Christmas and they were like, how dare they give her a Peloton bike for Christmas? Like that's so insulting. It was like very controversial, maybe like 3 years ago. And so for me, I would be like, wow, he loves me
That's
so
kinda
much,
cool.
he'd give me a
Yeah,
Peloton
yeah.
bike, right? But it depends. Like, so if the person doesn't speak that language, it's really hard
If
to
she's
get
like
them out of
300
the-
pounds on the couch and you're like, Peloton, that's like buying a woman a mop or what's it, like a vacuum. I got her a vacuum.
Yeah,
you know, for
I
Christmas.
mean, unless she really wants that, you know,
Yeah.
or if she's really into baking and she loves to bake, so then you got her like an appliance that she's been wanting.
Yeah.
I understand that. So I think at the end of the day, it's like a psychological, you have to both be psychologically in the same place to where you're like, I want to make sure that you're better. Because I've met people that like the guy's really into fitness, like you just said,
Yeah.
and the woman's not. And so
But is she
I always say,
criticizing them? Like that,
you
I'm talking
you're
in terms of the,
you're a conversation away from anything really.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, you know, maybe you know, switch up the Cheetos and you're like, well, they're 100-calorie Cheetos, they're baked. And now, slowly but surely, you're starting to speak that same language. I think that health and fitness, in my opinion, if we're talking about that specifically, it's important to make sure that both parties are on the same track. Not that if you're into fitness, he's not, and you're like, oh, because you're a fat ass. Or vice versa.
Because people are mean to each other and like,
cool.
they start dimming each other's light.
Yeah.
They start doing all these kinds of things. Sometimes the man is really into fitness and doesn't want the wife to be. Creates
Yes.
all these excuses. Well, who's going to watch the kids? Well, I don't want them in the daycare center.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you leaving them with your sister. Like, you'll notice when a man is becoming very insecure with you and your husband's becoming insecure because he's going to put limits. He's going to create so many scenarios where that you cannot move forward. And then it's like, I want to go this way, but here you go, boom, block. Okay, here you go, boom, block.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to do this? No, but what about the kids? Like, everything becomes this scenario. And it reminds me of Cinderella, the original cartoon Cinderella, where they tell her she gets to go to the ball, right? She's so excited. But the stepmother's like, well, you can go, but after you do this, that, sew this, wash this, clean this, do this. And by the time they're done with there's no hope that she's going to get to go.
And the pumpkin left.
She didn't even get to go, right, until the end and whatever happened. But I'm saying, like, in that scenario, creating the blockages.
But I agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you 100%. And you see it a lot, and you're like, damn, it's rough out there.
Yeah. And so when you're single and you're divorced, it's so difficult, even at this age, to like, when you start to date people, because you start to see these little tiny things really early on, right, by the way. and you go, oh, that's like he's kind of insecure about like what I do, or he's kind of insecure that I happen to know all of these like business people and stuff like that. We had a guru on, a TikToker, Rudy, who said he didn't like when he would take a girl out to dinner and like the restaurant owner comes out and like knows her, and he said it was so annoying because it made him think like, oh, she's probably been around already. And so there's all these things, ladies, that run through their heads that we're not going to ever fully understand. But at the same time, don't like
it's so funny that you're saying about that, and I'm just gonna make a really quick reference regarding that, because sometimes like you just like to go to nice places, and it's like, have you ever been here? It's like, yes. Have you done this? Yes. Have you ever been there? Yes. Have you ever done that? Yes. And it's not because you're trying to be like, yeah, I've done it all, because you haven't.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if they're asking you, you want to be as authentic and honest, but then sometimes
they don't like it.
That bothers them.
They
it's
just
like,
don't.
You know, and I know that I was dating someone specifically, and then there was a moment there where he asked, have you ever been here? And I was like, nope. And then he's like, nope. I'm like, well, I've never been here with you. So that was
I'm serious.
So that was always my cop out, right? It was like, well, I've never been here with you, like, so.
And
that's
a
all that
Russian
matters,
girl
right?
on TikTok that says, ladies, she's the one that said about the car door and the Maserati, but she said if he takes you somewhere and says, have you ever been here? You just go, I have not. And everything was about playing small, by the way.
Which kind of sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah, because like if you have like
you wouldn't even talk about it.
And you know what? Those are life experiences that you can't deny, right? I do believe that it. For me, that response was very genuine, and it's really true. Like I'd never been there with him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I was there with girlfriends. Doesn't mean that I was there on a date or I was there with someone else. It could mean that I was there with my daughters. I was there with my mother. I was there with other people, but never with him. So I think that what one needs to focus more on is whether or not you've shared this life with this person, which you haven't, and you're making new memories. And so people shouldn't feel like they need to dim your light to, have you lie about whether or not you've been to freaking Paris, Rome, France, or London. Like, you have, but you've never been there with them. So why should you dim your light to say I've never done that?
I think that at the end of the day, I think if I had to right now extract anything, it almost feels like, and men, if you're watching, we know you love to comment on YouTube, go ahead and drop a comment, but I think at the end of the day, maybe it boils down to they just want to be the hero. And at the end of the day, when we're doing our best, ladies, and we're flourishing, they feel like there's not a lot of opportunities to be our hero.
To contribute.
And I think that, and it's not even contribute, it's to be our hero specifically. And I think that part of it is like, that's going to be a tough thing, I think, for us to navigate as we get more modern, right? And men, we have to kind of understand that it's changing for them too.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Their value and stuff like that.
Slowly but surely, but at the end of the day, like, whoever it is that you're with, I mean, I think that never try to dim them, and always empower who it is, like whoever it is, and you expect the same thing in return. As cliche as that sounds, it's really the truth. So
I will say one last thing. A woman said to me that her husband was like, why are you wearing that lipstick? This was recently. And he was like, she looks good, she's a beautiful woman. And she didn't know what to say, and she just goes, oh, and she went and took it off. And so she said, what would you have done? And I have been in these scenarios, right? And I said, I would have said, well, because it makes my lips look big and sexy, and like juicy. I love them. So what I was saying to her is, give yourself the compliment out loud that he's fighting desperately not to give you. Because that is he's trying to have a superpower, but you can eliminate that. So as soon as he goes, why are you wearing that dress? I really love the way it makes my body look. I feel confident in it.
It makes me look curvy, and everybody will walk me.
It makes me look hot. And then he's going to be like, what? Because God forbid you acknowledge that you're a beautiful, powerful woman.
And so that's how we're going to wrap it up.
See you next week. And remember that you deserve fresh lettuce.
Cheers.